Hey, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. How are you all today? I want to talk a little bit about war, getting ready for war, because I think that there's a possibility we may be headed for one. Our leaders want one, and if they want something, there's not a lot we can do to keep it from happening, even though there are things maybe we'll need to do later on. Welcome first, before I get to that, to all the new people, all the new subscribers on YouTube, and all the new patrons, the members over on Patreon. It's great to have you. I always claim to have the smartest commenters in YouTube land, and I do. And all you have to do to see that I'm right is read the comments either while or after you're watching the video here, and you'll see that I'm right. And it's even a couple of levels higher over on Patreon. How you get there, there's a link down there if you'd like to join us on Patreon, and I do suggest that you do, because there's a lot more information over there than we put on the YouTube channel. Matter of fact, after this, I'm going to be putting up one explaining how I years ago heated my gym, my two-floor gym, with beer bottles. So you can get that. Also, the links to my books, how to get my books, are down below. The Stonemont series is a complete series on how to prepare for, how to survive, and how to rebuild after a major collapse, in this case a CME that takes out the whole world. These are some lessons you might need to know here pretty soon. It's in a novel. It's a good story. It's exciting. It'll make you laugh. It'll make you cry. It'll make you cry again. It'll make you think. It'll teach you. It'll learn you. That's what other people have said. So the link's down below there on how to get those from Amazon, either in paperback or in Kindle, or how to get autographed copies from me. So there you go. Enough of that. Apparently, our leaders want war. They need a war to cover up all the problems they've caused for us. So they've been poking Russia for a long time. Russia's not going to take it anymore. I don't have to rehash all this kind of stuff, but Russia's moving their subs and they're moving their missiles on trains, and yeah, this could all be blowhard, but I don't think that our leaders are going to let this lay, because they need it. And if you look back into history, you see why wars start, and this has all of the makings. Now, what do we need to do? What do you need to do? We need to prepare, as always. We should always be prepared, but we need to prepare as if a war is coming. Because if you don't and a war comes, then you're out of luck. But if you prepare as if a war were coming, and then it doesn't, you're in great shape. And if it does, you're better than if you hadn't, right? What would be the possible effect of a war? Well, I'm not going to get into whether there would be a draft. I mean, our military is not in the best shape it's ever been. Every time a Democrat president gets in, they destroy the military, they destroy the morale. The good people leave. Not all the good people, but a lot of the good people leave, the better people. And of course, we've been contracting out so much of our little military adventures over the last 20 years that so many of the very best people are not in the military any longer, and are probably not going to be going gung-ho to fight for Uncle Joe just because he's pushing them into a war. So our military is going to have some challenges. That could fall back on us. A weak country. Certain things happen. Would it result in less law enforcement here or more law enforcement? Okay, that's probably too deep to go in on this one. I want to get to those, but not on this one, because I want to talk about the basics for those people who may need to know what they should do right now. What you should do right now is prepare yourself to be able to sustain your lifestyle as close to normal in a long, dark winter if the public utilities are interrupted. Okay, we've already seen the effects of supply chain problems with the food and with toilet paper and with all these other things, right? It's going to continue. It's continuing anymore, even more. I think we're going to start seeing more food shortages come up, so you need to get on top of that right now. stock in every bit you can afford, and that makes sense to you. What that's going to be to you may be different than me, but you do what you think you should and what you can. Now, you need to be able to keep yourself, you need lights, you need heat. You need to be able to keep your house livable during that time. This is why I'm going to do that one over on Patreon, because it can be done. Think about it. I suggest that you insulate your house as well as you can right now. If you need insulation places around, do it. If you need to put plastic over the windows to help that, start getting busy on that. It's going to bring your heating bills way down. If you don't have a generator, I would suggest that you get a generator. If you already have one, get a second one. I just picked up another generator not too long ago, a dual fuel, so that it's not just gasoline. It can run on propane as well. Now, what my suggestions on generators, I don't suggest you get the big honking ones, okay? Because when you're in a kind of a survival situation, you don't want something that gulps gas. You want something that sips gas. So I love those little smaller ones, the 2, 3, 4,000 watt ones that can run for a long time on a gallon of gas at 50% load. You know, you get a big one, that thing's sucking in the gas, and you're going to have there's going to be a limit to how much gas you can store, which brings me to another point. Make sure you keep all of your gas tanks full in your vehicles, some extra containers if you've got them. If you don't, go get a couple. Keep some extra gasoline on hand. Make sure that all of your propane tanks are full. If you can afford to get a couple more, I would suggest that you do. Those little buddy heaters, if the heat is out, if there's a disruption of utilities, I don't think that it's going to be nuclear here in the continental United States. Can't promise that, but I don't think it is. But we're very possibly could be the targets and the victims of cyber attacks if we keep kicking them in the butt over there. And you think about how it's going to feel in early January when all of a sudden there's no gas coming through the pipes, right? Or the lights aren't on. So you have to be able to provide those things for yourself. Those little portable heaters that will run on propane, it's great to have a couple of those around. Make sure you got plenty of propane. Whether you have them in the little bottles or the big bottles, have them. Get what you can afford. I would suggest that if you need better clothes, if you need better winter clothes, if you've got kids that are growing, make sure you get those now. I know you're going to be paying higher prices. I always buy at the end of a season. So for what our kids are going to be wearing the upcoming this winter, we bought them last spring when they were closing out. That's the way to do it. But we're coming into a dangerous time, and if you need them, better get them. I would suggest that everybody, if you don't have sub-zero sleeping bags, that's a great way to make it through the night when the heat's not on. Get some sub-zero sleeping bags for everybody in the family. Stock in the food, stock in the canned goods. Don't forget the protein. If you've got a freezer, stock that thing with meat. A lot of people think about, rice and beans, and yes, I know all about the chemistry that the two together make a complete protein, but nothing beats meat, okay? People are meat eaters, and as much meat as you can stock, great, and stock plenty of canned meat too. This is probably as close as we've been to really needing to pump up our preparedness. Will a nuclear war happen? I can't say, and neither can anyone else. We know that they're making moves at it. We know that we almost went to war, a nuclear war, when Russia was the Soviet Union at the time, was going to put ballistic missiles down in, or nuclear-capable missiles in Cuba. We didn't want them on that close, 90 miles off our shore, and this is Russia's situation. He doesn't want NATO on his doorstep. And yet everything that we're doing over here is pushing closer and closer and closer and closer to where he's going to have a hard time backing down, and he won't. I don't think he will. I think our leaders are stupid, and I think he's not going to take it. be able to filter water. You know, we're not talking about bugging out. We're talking about being able to survive in your home. So, you know, what that means is food, water, and shelter. Everything that you can think of to bolster these, do it. If you have a bug out location, I hate saying that, but it's just handy. It's what everybody calls it. If you have an alternative location, think about that. If you have a place to go, make sure that it is prepared for your arrival. You never know what could happen. I'm probably going to be doing the Monday movie review next week on that movie with Jason Robards. It's an old movie. What was it called? The Day After, I believe. It's about when a nuclear exchange that takes out Kansas City and Lawrence, Kansas. Near and dear to my heart, right? Takes out my hometown. It's something to think about. You cannot necessarily say that these things won't happen. Just as much as these people are screaming that it's going to happen, which I think that's a little overboard, but you can't say that it's not. There is a book, I forget the full name of it. The guy's name is Crescent Kearney. It's about surviving nuclear war. I've got the book somewhere. It just shows you that nuclear war can be prepared for. I mean, if it hits right over you, you're done. But if it's not a strike that's too close to you, it can be survived, and there's no reason not to be prepared for that. I know that it's up on the internet somewhere as a PDF for free. You can find it, Crescent Kearney, something else, PDF, download it, invest 100 pages of copy paper in that and read through it and get those things that you think you might need. The things that it takes to fix things, okay? The one thing that makes things stop, which is duct tape, and the one thing that makes things go, WD-40. Make sure that you've got the tools that you need in order to fix stuff. Spares of certain things. Wouldn't hurt you to get an extra set of tires if you need them for your vehicle. If you got one that's kind of close, remember what during the last World War, the things that we're short on was sugar and rubber, and the women had to wear makeup on their legs because they couldn't. There was no nylon because all was that being sent to the military and all sorts of things. I mean, it's very interesting. I've got a ration book from World War II that my mother gave me that kind of shows you. They got coupons and they had to save up their coupons. If they had a birthday party coming up, they started saving their sugar coupons because you could only buy so much sugar per week because it was all going to the guys in Europe and the Pacific. You don't know what's going to happen here. I didn't finish that. So they'd save their sugar coupons so they'd have enough to make a birthday cake, right? They lived through tough times. They lived through very challenging times. We may have challenging times come up. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be horrible. It doesn't mean that you can't live through them. You can live through them. How you live through them is going to be, up to you, as how well you are prepared. That's why we have our saying, we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. If you don't prepare very well today, you're not going to live very well tomorrow if something happens. I think that's about all I want to say. There are a lot of specifics. Maybe I'll talk about them if I get around to them, but that's it. My advice right now is it could be coming. We've always said that I've always said, because I wrote my books about EMP or CME in that case, and hey, the sun is more active. It could come from the sun. But if I were going to deliver an EMP attack or a cyber attack that shuts down the utilities, I'd do it in the fall, or I'd do it in November or December, right? When everybody's cold. You can't grow anything more. Nobody's going to put in a garden in December. And besides that, you got to wait for months before you're able to, to get anything to eat. And most people don't have gardens that would satisfy their needs anyway. So do those things and increase them. I'll be back more, over the next week or so with maybe some specifics, a way of bringing, a way of handling lighting better, a way of handling heating better, things like that. But the main thing now is that war may be coming, and it's not hyperbole. It's not fear porn. It is a result of watching what's going on in the world and saying, hey, I'd better be ready. Okay? So with that, I'm going to sign off here and make my one for Patreon. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. If you're not with me on Patreon, again, the link is down there. Come visit us over there. Come learn some of the lessons that I don't put on YouTube. But if you want a whole bunch of lessons, like I've said, I've never been asked a question that I haven't already answered in detail in these books. These are available. The links are down there either through Patreon in paperback or Kindle, or you can get them directly from me autographed, and there's a way to do that down there too. So you all have a good day. Get to prepping. Hope it doesn't happen, but if it does, you want to be ready, right? All right, talk to you tomorrow, and I'll see some of you guys on Patreon here in a little bit.